It is not enough to look and listen and taste and smell and feel. I have to do those to the right things, such as look at books, and fail to do them to the wrong things, or else people doubt that I am a thinking being. And since their definition of thought defines their definition of personhood so ridiculously much, they doubt that I am a real person as well. I would like to honestly know how many people, if you met me on the street, would believe I wrote this. I find it very interesting by the way that failure to learn your language is seen as a deficit, but failure to learn my language is seen as so natural that people like me are officially described as mysterious and puzzling rather than anyone admitting that it is themselves who are confused, not autistic people or other cognitively disabled people who are inherently confusing. We are even viewed as non-communicative if we don't speak the standard language, but other people are not considered non-communicative if they are so oblivious to our own languages as to believe they don't exist. In the end, I want you to know that this has not been intended as a voyeuristic freak show where you get to look at the bizarre workings of the autistic mind. It is meant as a strong statement on the existence and value of many different kinds of thinking and interaction in a world where how close you can appear to a specific one of them determines whether you are seen as a real person, or an adult, or an intelligent person, and in a world in which those determine whether you have any rights. There are people being tortured, people dying, because they are considered non-persons, because their kind of thought is so unusual as to not be considered thought at all. Only when the many shapes of personhood are recognized will justice and human rights be possible.
If we are to protect life, like atoms, we must protect the human spirit. That is, defer from using this pejorative language in referencing and thinking about autism that hurts autistic people. Elie Wiesel said, "Words can sometimes, in moments of grace, attain the quality of deeds." Words really do matter. Words reflect the way we think about things. In our society, representation matters. So I put this together and proposed a good practice in representing autism. An inclusion of autistic people and their voice at all levels of government, in your development of technologies, assistive devices, in determining the appropriate accommodations, and at every level of policy making regarding autism. Reflect autism as a diverse condition that has strengths and challenges. Talk about autism not as a defeat or delay in relation to a norm, but a different way of thinking and learning. Use inclusive rather than exclusive language in referencing autism, meaning humanizing instead of dehumanizing. Check our language for bias. And let's engage in the ethical discussions about referencing not just the efficacy of treatments, but also the appropriateness of the treatment. Michelle Dawson said, "Reports often talk about suitability for autistic people. Ethical questions are not being asked. Instead of the can we do this, we are not asking, is this a good idea? It is harder to answer than, is this effective?" And protect the mystery of being human, the human spirit. And I also created this based on my own experience, so it's somewhat subjective. But parents always ask me, what can we do upon receiving an autism diagnosis? And first I say grieve, then breathe. Everybody has to go through that grieving process. You expected something, it's not going to happen. And breathe, and also know that there is different points of grieving every time your child is supposed to hit a milestone. But then remember that your child hasn't changed, only your perception of them has. Learn to reframe your expectations, what is instead of what you wish. Seek out positive support groups and meet many autistic adults. We have a support group at the Autism Acceptance Project led by autistics for parents, which is very nice for them. Read work by autistic adults. Read lots of it. Listen to and trust your child. Trust what they're telling you and trust what they're communicating. Believe in yourself. Believe in your instincts. Believe that your child's going to be okay. Discover your child's interests and use them to help them learn, like I showed with Adam and his letters and changing it into Alphabet Boy during Halloween. Play with your child, even if the game is atypical. Adam's favorite game is Under the Blanket. Anybody heard of that game before? We made it up, and it works. It's very fun. Create your life. You have to create your own life. Don't stop living it. I say go out and expose your child to new experiences. We did it all the time with Adam. And yeah, sometimes it's tough, and yeah, sometimes it's not going to work. But more often than not, Adam loves new experiences, and he will, in fact, talk a little bit more when he goes out and sees new things. Sometimes we use transitional objects. You can sit through a 2 to 3 hour dinner at a restaurant. It's great with a DVD player. And use it if you have to. He gets used to the noise in the environment. It's not so hard to take him out when they get older. Use schedules for predictability and end on positive notes in all excursions if you can. Provide rich learning environments, music and text and everything, art. We go to a lot of art galleries. Consider culling from safe and existing teaching methods that respects and best suit the child's unique learning needs. We've had to cull from a lot of these different methods, the ones that particularly meet Adam's needs and suit him. Accept your child and remember that not every autistic person is alike. Unfortunately, autistic people are put under microscopes. Parents compare and professionals examine every little behavior. And I suggest it's unfair to the child, and it leads to some impossible expectations. Also, parents have a tendency to compare their child's progress to other autistic children, and you're setting yourself up for disappointment because there's just no comparison. After the negative responses from some people about the Joy of Autism event, which I showed you, where people accused us of condoning acquiescence, my husband and I wrote a counterpoint piece in the National Post called Accepting Autism, and we said, if there is anything that could ravage our son Adam of which we are most fearful, it is this attitude that he is somehow diseased, insufficient, or incomplete. As we evolve, let us all find a common language that supports families and parents so that our autistic children can be the best autistic children they can be. We work hard to achieve every possibility for our son, and Adam works very hard to reciprocate, to become part of this world that judges him so harshly. To witness such an affectionate, charming child be viewed by society as less than human, in fact, not human at all, that is the tragedy. The quest for truth in autism will perhaps end in a quest for truth about what it means to be human. While Adam doesn't have some of my abilities,